there's a movie out called Sound of Freedom. And it's the hip new conservative parents are bringing their children and their siblings and their spouses too. And everyone is in conservative circles is raving about how realistic and how it really opened their eyes to child sex abuse. And, you know, frankly, that might be due in no small part to the amount of sex abuse that the producers of the film and the inspiration for the film did, allegedly. Now, Vice News has been putting out some pretty wild stories that they've been able to get their hands on. And it seems that one of the producers behind the movie Sound of Freedom, which again is about an unaccountable organization going to foreign countries to basically do counter operations against child trafficking operations, oftentimes interfering with, you know, already existent anti-child trafficking operations in the countries they're going to. Turns out the producer of one of the producers of the film, trigger warning for sexual assault, felt the naked breasts of apparently underage trafficking victim. So, yeah, you know, just one of the producers of the movie about, you know, how trafficking is bad, literally felt up a victim of child sex trafficking. It's literally always projection with these people, you know? It's crazy. It's crazy. We'll just go over this quick. Files from a joint local and federal criminal investigation released to Vice News describe video evidence of the incident, which took place in Mexico on an Operation Underground Railroad mission. So, a couple of things just from that single sentence. So there's video of him feeling the naked breasts of a child. And it also occurred on one of these anti-child sex trafficking operations with the organization that is said to be preventing child sexual exploitation. Remember how I've talked about this organization before? I've talked about this, right? How they did really weird things. Like they would offer spots on their anti-trafficking operations to prominent benefactors. Like there was I think a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, went on this. It was a football team anyway. I don't remember if it was the Pittsburgh Steelers exactly. And he went on one of these, and it's just kind of weird that it seemed like they were basically selling positions on these operations. So this is a lot more gross than it already seemed gross, but it's even more gross the deeper you get into it. So, no, this wasn't the director of the film. This was one of the producers, an executive producer, actually, on Sound of Freedom. His name is Paul Hutchinson. Touched the naked breasts of an apparently underage trafficking victim during a 2016 undercover operation in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. So, this is like, 7 years ago. But, like, goddamn. Yeah. By the way, the footage was captured by videographers working with Operation Underground Railroad. And weirdly enough, they didn't feel the need to report that to authorities at all. Weird. The movie's not based on this dude, Archangel. This is just one of the guys.
Has a no diddling kids policy while undercover. Sound of Freedom guys have worse ethics than the CIA. BWA crew, where you at tonight? Let's get subs for Jack's cool new hairdo.
Oh, GamerG, thank you for the $5 dono. No, this isn't the guy that Sound of Freedom was based on. This is the executive producer on the film. This is a different guy. We haven't even talked about the other allegations that are now going around about that guy, but we'll get to them, okay? So, yeah, no. So basically, during an investigation of Operation Underground Railroad and Ballard, I think Tim Ballard? Yeah, Tim Ballard. Uncovered this footage, but also different country. So there aren't any charges being pressed, at least at the time when the footage was initially uncovered, which is insane. You know, the only reason we know about this, by the way, is because Vice put out a request for public records. This is the only reason we know about this video. Okay? By the way, within the organization and by Hutchinson himself, the victim in the video was known to be about 16 years old, and the use of the word "about" there is pretty disturbing as well, because that could go to 15. And apparently, Operation Underground Railroad was really surprised when this footage came out, because they thought they had destroyed it. Which is weird. You destroyed evidence of an adult man touching the naked breasts of a child. Nah, what the fuck? Yeah, no, exactly. And by the way, we know, while we don't have the videos public, what we know from Vice's reporting and what they were able to get their hands on, there are detailed notes about the videos written by investigators. So, yeah, apparently the notes on this particular video...
Mommy's lovely new hairdo.
Thank you for the 3 gifted subs. You know, I might need to turn off text-to-speech for some of these streams. But apparently, in the notes on one of these videos, Hutchinson is on camera worrying about whether or not he could be prosecuted by Mexican police and authorities for, you know, inappropriately touching an underage child. So... it also shows, apparently, Matt Osborne, a man who works for Operation Underground Railroad, basically saying, it's all right, it's fine, this video's not going to be shown to the US government, it's fine. It's fine. And this guy named Matt Osborne, he currently runs Operation Underground Railroad. He's the COO, actually, and president. cool. Yeah. And, yeah. Real entrepreneur. Yeah. I just can't, man.
Getting in before we lose TTS. Acknowledge me, chat mommy. Boo woo. Smiley face.
Boo woo indeed. Wait, Salmon Moose, I misread that. I thought that said one gifted sub, and then I realized there were way too many names. Thank you for the 15 gifted subs. That is incredibly generous of you. Taking out the unsubbed with just a massive barrage. I see. Thank you so goddamn much. That is incredibly generous of you. Thank you. Anyway, everything I just said, by the way, is disputed by Hutchinson, who, said that he swore an affidavit to Mexican federal police that the, again, sex trafficked child whose breasts he touched was over 18. So that somehow makes that better, I guess. And oddly enough, he has not responded to requests for comment to this story. Yeah. Also, this isn't the only video in question. Because Hutchinson was actively participating in the operation at the time. And he posed as a wealthy sex tourist. And, when he was talking to a sex trafficker, he kept asking for younger and younger, girls to be shown to him. And in the video, the trafficker asks others around him to find, girls as young as 14 years old to give to this man. Yeah. Now, you might be saying, well, maybe he just had the best of intentions. Maybe he never intended to, touch children, or he was trying to sell the bit so he could save more children. But here's the thing, guys. There are ways to run anti-sex trafficking operations that don't involve sexually touching minors. There are ways to do that. And basically at every single point that we've talked about our Operation Underground Railroad, we find that there are just other organizations who combat sex trafficking, look at their operations and go, this is absolutely not how this is done. They are at best bumbling around in very delicate situations, and sometimes leading to decent results. At worst, they are getting more children sex trafficked and helping organizations escape from being busted for sex trafficking. And yes, not a single method that reputable organizations do involves sexually touching children. There's not a single part of any of these operations where it's okay for, like, an undercover agent. Well, oh yeah, as long as, you know, if it's to keep your cover, you have sex with children. No! No, that doesn't happen. That's not how you do that. That's not a defense for that. God. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to read through this particular part of the transcript here. All right. Files obtained by Vice News consist of audio transcripts and timestamped descriptions of what investigator Brian Purdy of the Davis County Attorney's Office saw while reviewing the footage, which Operation Underground Railroad, according to an investigator's note, believed it had scrubbed. A description of one video, which was, going by its associated file name, taken in February 2016 using an earphone cam, starts, quote, Paul Hutchinson and his team are standing in the street area talking with local men. They cross the street and go into a club where females are seen walking toward them down a staircase. A female, the description, which, like the others in this story, we are reproducing verbatim, aside from minor redactions, complete with typographical and grammatical errors, reads, gets to the bottom of the stairs, and there is an adult male standing to her left side. The male is wearing a light-colored shirt with long sleeves and a necktie. The male uses both of his hands to lift the female's shirt up to her shoulders, exposing her naked breasts. While he continues to hold the female's shirt up with both hands, another adult male approaches them directly in front of the female. This male, identified as Paul Hutchinson based on his own statements on a phone call to Matt Osborne, is wearing a light-colored shirt with short sleeves. Paul approaches the female and lifts both of his hands and places them on each of the female's naked breasts. The female uses her hand to push down Paul's hands and pulls her shirt down. There's another female standing above them, higher on the stairway, wearing a dark-colored skirt/shorts and a dark-colored tube-top shirt. Paul leans in and kisses the first female on the side of the cheek, read the investigator's notes. Adult male in the white shirt, according to the description, goes outside with Hutchinson and his team. Quote, you want more touch, feel, oh no, more touch, he says. Another man says, you like more 16. Unquote. And that he can provide IDs. Hutchinson pays one of these men, which isn't made clear in the description, money and says, for showing him to me right there. So, again, in the recording, the man goes on to say, another girl like her, 16, she's 16. Yeah, also afterwards, and this appears to be members of the team talking with each other. Quote, let's get the hell out of here. Hutchinson is heard saying, yeah, let's get out of here. I'm down $1,000. For $1,000, you got your hands on some breasts, says a male voice. And the group laughs. What was I going to do? Asks a second male voice, whose words are described as being interrupted repeatedly by laughter. Okay, she's 16. Here, feel them. They're nice. I'm like, shit, those are 16. Unquote. You think they're underage, huh? Said the first male voice. Oh yeah, says a third male voice. I would put money on that. The men continued their discussion for a bit before the first male voice says, "Yeah, those girls were young, man." Quote, "I don't know how wise it was to grab that girl's boobs, though," says the second male voice. Quote, "You didn't get that on video or anything, did you?" So, yeah. Man. Also, if you'll notice, at no point in that conversation was he at all prompted to feel up a 16-year-old child. He just did that. And then afterwards, they laughed about it together. I'm guessing actual specialists who work on this issue don't literally put money in the hands of pimps. I mean, they might put a small amount of money in the hands of pimps, but they don't actually have sex with sex trafficking victims. That's fucky? It's fucky as hell, dude. In a statement to Vice News, Hutchinson wrote, "In regards to the undercover mission in Cabo San Lucas, 23 victims were liberated and some very bad men are now in prison. Your reference to the trafficker testing our legitimacy is a non-story. I have a sworn affidavit by the federal police saying she was over 18. Which I gotta tell you guys, and we should all know this by now. Anyone can say anything in an affidavit. An affidavit isn't evidence. The only thing an affidavit is something that says you said something. That's it. that's all that means. He's a very bad dude. If I remember correctly, one investigation tactic is saying you're getting the victim for a client. Diddling kids is not part of the plan in any way. No, it's not. And guys, like, I've... This isn't just like one incident, by the way. There's at least 5 different videos covered by Vice here. In another video here from February 28th, 2016, a phone call between Hutchinson and Matt Osborne. Again, Matt Osborne is currently the head of Operation Underground Railroad. Osborne talks to the videographer filming the call about the hard drive containing the footage he's shot, at which point Hutchinson brings up the incident at the club. During the conversation, he refers to himself in the third person as Paul Stone, a reference, according to Purdy's description of the video, to the alias he used while undercover, and asks if he's, quote, gonna get in big trouble from the Mexican authority for touching a 16-year-old on film. So, yeah. Yeah. This is a direct quote. When you get the hard drive, I have to confess to something," he says, according to a transcript. "But I believe that it helped to make them really believe that we weren't a police officer in any way." Starts to laugh. We're taken to the strip club. Paul laughs again, as well as the man next to him, which I can't believe other people are laughing about this incident, which is insane to me if you're an anti-trafficking organization, but okay. Okay, so this is the very first time we saw that V. vetting is out, and he took us to the strip club, and the owner of the strip club brought down the minors, and the V's, the very first time V's shown us any minors, and brought down these minors while Paul Stone, referring to himself as the undercover name he was going by, is standing there at the bottom of the stairs. These two girls working the strip club, there's two minors come down, and the owner of the strip club pulls up one of their shirts and grabs one of Paul Stone's hands and places it on her breast, so it's on the video. I just want to find out if I'm gonna get in big trouble from the Mexican authority for touching a 16-year-old on film. Like, you can tell how nervous he is, and also, we know from the previous video, and from the previous video's transcript, that no one reached out and put his hand on a 16-year-old's breast. He's already lying here to cover his own ass, because he knows Paul Stone walked up and grabbed an underage child's breasts. Is it clear that they pulled your hand there? Asks Osborne in the copy of the description obtained by Vice News. This entire passage is highlighted, and the word lie is written next to it, with a margin note reading, Paul puts both hands on voluntarily. Those appear to be in investigators' notes. The Davis County Attorney's Office did not respond to requests for comment. Like, even the investigator was like, Weasley fucking liar, dude. It's not clear on the video, says Hutchinson. I was standing on the side, and he grabbed the hand from down on the right hand, on my right hand side, as he pulled up her shirt and put him up. Paul then raises his hands, his right hand while holding the phone, then raised his left hand in a motion of grabbing with his hand. And so we feel like if we were all there, and we all feel like if I had hesitated, and oh yeah, I'm not really interested. By the way, I'm reading this verbatim. I'm not inserting these ums and ahs. That these are in there. These are in the transcript. And so we feel like, and if we were all there, and we all feel like, if I had hesitated, and oh yeah, I'm not really interested in touching that right now, as he was pulling it up, I think it would have thrown up a lot of red flags. But that is on the hard drive. I just wanted to run that by and see what your thoughts are. God damn, dude. Peer pressure? No! There was no peer pressure. From what I know, none of the other guys were, like, touching this girl's breasts. Is Vice copyright? Going over an article is not copyright now. Vice videos might be, but I'm not sure. This is how a nervous person talks? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Jesus Christ. Osborne replies, yeah, I don't think at this point that will be an issue. Maybe if it was the Mexicans. And we're sending it just the Mexicans. I don't want this video to be to HSI, the US Embassy, because I'm sure, and I've done it before too one time, I'm sure that technically you guys probably entrapped some of these people. Try not to, yeah, and I've done it before accidentally. So I'm just content that is not an issue. So, you know, that's just the president of Operation Underground Railroad casually dropping the, oh yeah, I've also touched underage girls. It's no biggie, man. It's just the Mexican government. Whom among us hasn't sexually assaulted a minor who's being sex trafficked? Let him cast the first stone. Jesus Christ, dude. These people are evil. These people are evil. Like using the aegis of, like, being anti-child sex trafficking and then going and, like, feeling up sex trafficked children. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Starts throwing stones? Yeah. A man, again, this is a full room of people, by the way. We're not even done with this section. I think this is one of the most damning parts of this particular video. A man sitting on a couch in the video, according to the description, tells Hutchinson, "The only thing you have to do is not tell your bishop." The video ends with Hutchinson laughing. It was all just a big joke, just a big jokey joke to sexually assault children who were being sex trafficked already. So this is the there's another video, but that last video is like basically Hutchinson and another member of the operation talking with a trafficker and asking for younger and younger and younger and younger girls until the trafficker's like, "Man, pay me like $60. I'll find you more girls who are like 16, 15, 14." Yeah. It was clear something was real sus when they sold out empty theaters for their garbage. Then the financiers got heat. Now it's really looking like some trash cans really to cover their asses by finger pointing and virtue signaling or just wanting to grift the conservative talking points. Yeah. Oh, God, dude. Good night, Todd Pemper. So, basically, after the publication of this article, Operation Underground Railroad reached out to Vice to add additional comment, saying that Matt Osborne promptly notified the Mexican Federal Police after an Operation Underground Railroad employee told him about the incident. The statement adds that Mexican police investigated the incident and did not press charges as the woman was an adult, but adds that Hutchinson's actions do not represent Operation Underground Railroad's standard operating procedure and were inappropriate regardless if the woman was an adult or not. Which, yeah, feeling up a sex-trafficked adult is still pretty bad. But also, there was a lot of evidence in there that, at least at the time, he believed he was, at the very least, sexually assaulting a child. And also, afterwards, you know, believed he had sexually assaulted a child, which is why he brought up, much later, being worried about that footage. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she's not a child. She's a 500-year-old dragon. They pulled an anime. Oh, God, dude. So that's the end of that story. Or is it? It's not. Because guess what? Also, the guy that Operation Underground Railroad's movie, Sound of Freedom, the guy that movie is based on, Tim Ballard, left the organization because he was sexually assaulting people. And again, this comes courtesy of Vice News. Tim Ballard's departure from Operation Underground Railroad followed sexual misconduct investigation, which is interesting. And we're just going to go through this one. It's a bit quicker. But basically... Oh, and by the way, this is important to know because Tim Ballard is currently prepping to try and replace Mitt Romney as a U.S. Senator. So, you know, this is something we should just know, you know, to be aware of our political landscape, I guess. Yeah. So Vice News got a hold of several people with direct knowledge of Operation Underground Railroad. And apparently, Tim Ballard, when he went on these Operation Underground Railroad operations, when he went to foreign countries, he would often get women who were either volunteers or members of Operation Underground Railroad to go with him and pose as his wife. And while on these operations, he would then try to coerce them into doing things they were uncomfortable with, like sharing a bed with him or showering naked together, while trying to say that it was very necessary for this to happen, because if they didn't, the traffickers would know that they were on an operation, that they were doing a sting. Which, again, if any of you know anything about anti-sex trafficking operations, sorry, agents on those aren't sleeping together to fulfill some ruse. That's not a thing that you do. Like, like, on top of that, just imagine being, like, a woman in that situation, where, like, this guy brings you to a foreign country, and you are now in a fairly dangerous situation. And the guy who's there, who's supposed to, like, keep you safe and have your back, is basically trying to get you to strip in front of him while he's claiming it's the only way you'll be safe. And by the way, this is the guy played by Jim Caviezel in the movie. This is the guy Jim Caviezel plays. He is said to have sent at least one woman a photo of himself in his underwear, covered in fake tattoos. And he asked another one, how far is she willing to go to save children? Implying, you know, having sex with him in order to save children. You know, like that's the argument he was making to these women. Like, oh, you have to save, in order to save the kids, you have to sleep with me. All told, there are 7 women reportedly involved. However, a lot of the evidence indicates that there could be many, many more women involved. Yeah. Currently, we only know of 7 who were employees, but that doesn't include volunteers or contractors, and we know that Operation Underground Railroad had a ton of those. So, yeah. So, when reached out to for comment, Operation Underground Railroad said to Vice, Tim Ballard resigned from OUR on June 22nd, 2023. He is permanently separated from OUR. OUR is dedicated to combating sexual abuse and does not tolerate sexual harassment or discrimination by anyone in its organization. OUR retained an independent law firm to conduct a comprehensive investigation of all relevant allegations, and OUR continues to assess and improve the governance of the organization and protocols for its operations. To preserve the integrity of its investigation and to protect the privacy of all persons involved, OUR will not make any further public comment at this time. OUR is confident in its future as the leading organization committed to combating sex trafficking and saving children who have been captured and sold into slavery. And if you have to sexually assault some of those children in order to save them, apparently that's fine with the organization because of the aforementioned Paul Hitchinson story we just covered. So, oh, you are a creep? True. Oh, you are a creep. Yeah. So, yeah. However, that was the official statement that OUR put out. The unofficial statement has apparently been floating around in local Utah circles for several months. And this is kind of the inside story here, because it's professionally accusing Ballard of sexual harassment. So I'm going to quote, I'm just going to read it here. This is the letter that's been going around. Several weeks ago, an OUR employee who accompanied Tim on an undercover operation filed a sexual harassment complaint against him with OUR's HR department. This resulted in an extensive internal investigation into Tim and his individual operational tactics and led to more women speaking up as part of the investigation process. It was ultimately revealed through disturbingly specific and parallel accounts that Tim had been deceitfully and extensively grooming and manipulating multiple women for the past few years with the ultimate intent of coercing them into to participate in sex acts with him under the premise of going where it takes and doing whatever it takes to save a child. Is Jim Caviezel just an actor in all this, or is he a tradcath fascist too? I don't know if he's a tradcath, but I do know he is a full-on QAnon nut. We covered an interview he had on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast, and like he's basically a rambling lunatic on that. The letter further said that OUR's board and lawyers had made agreements preventing executives from discussing the circumstances of Ballard's exit from the organization he founded, making it virtually impossible for them to defend the organization against Tim's false narratives. So basically, this letter is trying to say that they can't directly contradict anything that Tim is saying publicly because of the organization's lawyers. So, yeah. And to be fair and balanced, here's Tim Ballard's response to these allegations, where he says, "As with all the assaults of on my character and integrity over many years, the latest tabloid-driven sexual allegations are false. They are baseless inventions designed to destroy me and the movement we have built to end the trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable children. During my time at OUR, I designed strict guidelines for myself and our operators in the field. Sexual contact was prohibited, and I led by example. Given our meticulous attention to this issue, any suggestion of inappropriate sexual contact is categorically false. The Spear Fund strongly encourages journalists to watch this recent episode of the highly respected Marisol Nichols podcast, which offers specific context around the child rescue operations process." And then a link to a YouTube video. But, you know, it's really worth noting that if nothing at all was wrong, he wouldn't have left Operation Underground Railroad. You know, the organization he built up over many years dedicated to saving children. He wouldn't have left that voluntarily if there wasn't a big internal investigation, which is absolutely something that happened. But also, we know he's full of shit because other members of his organization and other people on these operations literally sexually assaulted children. Yeah, exactly, Gamer G. If nothing was wrong, he would shut the fuck up and hire a lawyer and go through defamation steps. But he's not doing that because he knows. He knows he's full of shit. Oh, God. That story was a lot more intense than I intended to open show with. But, I think it's really important to know, and frankly, my more conservative-minded viewers who've, you know, full-throatedly defended this film, just want you to know the organization it's portraying a lot more scummy in reality than it is in a movie about how awesome it is. Okay? So, there we go. Is the story over? Yes. End segment.